Welcome to the deep dive. You've brought us a stack of sources, and our mission, as always, is to extract those vital nuggets of knowledge, giving you that shortcut to being well informed. Today, we're plunging into a true classic. It might seem like, just a children's story at first glance, but believe me, it holds some surprising depths.
Yeah, we're doing a deep dive into Mark Twain's The Prince and the Pauper. And for this, we've gathered, well, excerpts from the novel itself, some detailed historical context, and even some of Twain's own personal notes. Our aim is really to uncover the fascinating facts, the powerful social commentary, and the enduring legacy of this work, especially how it illuminates this whole idea of identity and what it truly means to be well-informed through actual experience.
Okay, let's unpack this. So picture 16th century London. On the exact same autumn day, two baby boys are born. One, Edward Tudor, he's welcomed by this powerful, wealthy family. He's the future king of England, actually. The other boy, Tom Canty, arrives to a really poor family who, well, frankly, didn't want him. And this shared birth date, it just sets the stage for this incredible, unlikely switch of identities. Our sources jump right into that stark contrast. What exactly was Tom Canty's life like in Awful Court? I mean, that place sounds notoriously foul, even just by the name, before his world just completely flipped upside down.
Well, Awful Court, it was a brutal microcosm, really, of 16th century poverty. Tom's reality was marked by a thieving father, a brutal grandmother. Pretty grim stuff. Yet Twain paints a more nuanced picture. He shows Tom finding these moments of simple joy, like Punch and Judy shows, even making mud pastries, things like that. But crucially, his imagination, which was fueled by an old priest's tales, let him dream way beyond the squalor. He'd often act out these fantasies of being royalty. And it's this vivid imagination, that makes his sudden entry into the real royal court so bewildering for him.
Right. And then you have Edward, the Prince of Wales, living in this world of just unimaginable luxury. But you mentioned, for all that opulence, it was its own kind of prison, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Edward's world, yeah, it was gilded, but it was just as rigid and isolated by protocol. He was surrounded by servants, sure, but he lacked any sort of genuine connection. Twain sets up this parallel confinement right away. Different kinds, of course, but confinement nonetheless. It really sets the stage for their fated meeting.
And that meeting happens when Tom, he's out begging, and he spots the prince at the palace gate. The prince sees a guard mistreating Tom and actually cries out, demands the guard let the pauper boy in. Then, just in this moment of, I guess, pure, innocent curiosity, they swap clothes, just like that. And this immediate swap, it's almost innocent, but it offers such a profound insight. It reveals how external identity, when you strip it away, immediately exposes the stark realities of social class and the arbitrary nature of, well, perceived worth. For Tom, it's this dizzying, almost dreamlike climb into grandeur he didn't earn. But for Edward, it's a brutal, sudden fall, plunged into a world where his very person is suddenly unrecognizable, valueless, where his sacred person, as Twain puts it, is instantly buffeted by plebeian hands and set upon and torn by dogs. Wow. And just like that, Tom's in the prince's private room, admiring the fancy clothes, playing with a jeweled dagger, even wondering if his awful court friends would ever believe this happened. But the reality, the weight of royalty, it sets in pretty fast. What was that like? For a boy from awful court to suddenly, supposedly, command hundreds of servants.
Oh, it was pure bewildering absurdity. And Twain uses Tom's experience to just brilliantly satirize the rigid, frankly, excessive royal protocols. I mean, imagine trying to eat dinner when there are 384 servants whose sole job is your comfort, but you don't even know they exist. Tom is completely bewildered by servants whose only purpose is like to fasten his napkin or taste his food for poison, and his insistence that he's Tom Canty. That's immediately dismissed as madness, which forces the old king to quickly install him as princely dignity, hoping it'll, cure him. It just highlights how utterly detached the court was from common sense.
Yeah, so Tom quickly finds himself a king in name, but basically a captive. He actually tries to pardon people set for execution, which is noble. And he even suggests the royal household should, take a smaller house and set the servants at large to save money. He gets shut down fast by Lord Hertford, of course, so he's trying to do good, but it's pretty clear he's just not equipped for the sheer complexity of power.
That's precisely the point Twain is making, I think. Tom, despite his good intentions, he's learning that power comes with immense complexity and good intentions without practical knowledge. They can be utterly impotent. He starts relying on others, like Humphrey, this whipping boy character.
Well, the whipping boy, right. The boy educated with the prince who took his punishment.
Exactly. So Humphrey feeds him information about court duties, who's who, that sort of thing. And then there's that truly infamous incident with the Great Seal.
Ah, the Great Seal. What exactly happened there? That sounds important.
Well, it is this crucial symbol of royal authority, right?
Yeah.
It's this large golden disc used to authenticate official documents. And Tom, when he's eventually asked where it is, innocently reveals he'd been using it to, well, to crack nuts with.
To crack nuts, seriously.
Seriously, it's hilarious, but also so telling about his complete lack of understanding of the role he's supposed to be playing.
Okay, so while Tom is navigating this bewildering gilded cage of the court, Edward gets plunged into the brutal reality of common life. What was the most shocking thing, maybe, that Twain chose to highlight through Edward's eyes down there?
Edward's fall is just swift and brutal. He's immediately dismissed as mad. He gets beaten by John Canty, the man who's supposed to be his father now. His royal commands are met with pure mockery, even from kids on the street. Twain's critique of the whole social structure becomes really evident here. Edward learns the grim realities of being a vagrant, basically. Driven from farmhouses because of his rags, called names, threatened with arrest. He even gets crowned Fufu the First, King of the Mooncalves, in this cruel, ironic ceremony by a gang of ruffians who just mock his attempts at acting royal. It's really stark, almost visceral exposure to how the poor were dehumanized.
And with this huge shift in roles, this critical question pops up. What actually drives loyalty and compassion in such a harsh world? Because it's right around here that Edward meets Miles Hendon, this disinherited nobleman who, even though he thinks Edward is mad, becomes his protector.
Miles Hendon is, yeah, he's a truly remarkable character. He's a victim of treachery himself, exiled by his own younger brother. And his compassion for Edward, even though he thinks the boy is completely delusional, it's profound. He takes beatings for Edward, like when Edward gets put in the stocks, and he even accepts this sort of foolish title Edward gives him, Knight of the Kingdom of Dreams and Shadows, just to humor the boy.
Mm.
Their relationship really becomes the moral compass for Edward's journey through the lower depths.
And Edward isn't just experiencing poverty, he's forced to witness the extreme cruelty of English law firsthand, right? Tell us about some of the horrors he sees that really impact him.
Oh, yeah. He sees things that are just horrific. The branding of a farmer who's then imprisoned for life for libel and who'd already had his ears cut off. He sees women condemned to be burned at the stake for witchcraft, for things as trivial, supposedly, as pulling off their stockings and raising a storm.
Hmm.
And Edward is utterly helpless to stop any of it. These experiences, they fundamentally transform him. He actually vows, when I am king, they shall not have bread and shelter only, but also teachings out of books. For a full belly is little worth where the mind is starved and the heart. It's such a powerful moment. It shows how suffering can forward real empathy.
So the story builds towards the climax Coronation Day. It's set in the magnificent Westminster Abbey. Our sources describe this dazzling spectacle, torchlit galleries, peeresses, clothed like Solomon for splendor, the golden throne, the ancient stone of Scone. All of London is just buzzing.
And this grand spectacle, all the pomp and tradition, it's masterfully contrasted with the private turmoil boiling inside Tom Canty. Despite all the external splendor, he's just increasingly tormented by shame. His own mother, Mary Canty, recognizes him in the procession. There's this old habit from childhood.
What was the habit?
Tom's hand involuntarily flies up, palm outward, before his eyes when he's startled or ashamed, and that gesture confirms it for her. But his public denial of her, I do not know you, woman, it utterly consumes his pride. It just withers his stolen royalty, as Twain calls it. It's a moment of really profound internal conflict.
And then, just as the Archbishop of Canterbury is about to place the crown on Tom's head, Edward the true king bursts in, proclaiming who he is. The whole court is thrown into panic, right? Initially thinking Edward is mad, just like they thought Tom was mad earlier.
Exactly. It perfectly captures how difficult it is to discern truth when perception is so skewed by appearance, by status, by societal expectations. Edward starts answering questions about the court, the late king, the princesses flawlessly, but the ultimate proof, the thing that removes all doubt, it comes down to that trivial little detail.
The Great Seal again.
The Great Seal. Only the true prince would know where it is. And when Tom is asked, he just innocently blurts out that he used the massy golden disc
To crack nuts with.
to crack nuts with.
Yeah.
That single absurd detail is the ultimate confirmation. It proves Edward's identity beyond any shadow of a doubt. It's brilliant.
So the truth is out. The crown is placed on the rightful king's head. And our sources tell us King Edward VI's reign was singularly merciful. A direct result, it seems, of his experiences as a pauper. He uses his power to reform laws, help the poor, champion justice, famously saying to those who questioned his leniency, "What dost thou know of suffering and oppression? I and my people know, but not thou." It's powerful that his personal suffering translated into governance. But Were there any complexities noted? Did his suffering translate perfectly into effective rule?
Well, Twain definitely emphasizes the intent and the direction of his reforms, especially given the harsh legal system he'd witnessed. The mercy is the key takeaway. Edward genuinely reforms Christ's hospital, making sure it feeds both minds and hearts, not just providing, bread and shelter. He intervenes personally to help the branded farmer, the imprisoned lawyer, the daughters of those women burned at the stake. And Tom Canty, he's rewarded for his kindness and discretion too. He becomes the chief governor of Christ's hospital known as the King's Ward. And Miles Hendon gets his ancient privilege confirm the right to sit in the king's presence. So it paints this picture of a monarchy striving for genuine compassionate justice born from experience.
It really is fascinating how this book, published back in 1881, was such a departure for Mark Twain. He was so known for his very distinct American humor. This was his first historical romance, and some critics were apparently disappointed he didn't stick to his, quote, modern American idiom.
Yes, exactly. And that departure is really significant. Twain himself had known youthful poverty. His own father was often in debt, which probably gave him a much deeper understanding of, as he put it, the baseness of the human condition at both ends of the social spectrum. He argued it wasn't supposed to be a funny book, but an exciting one. He really wanted to explore these serious themes: identity, social critique, the transformative power of empathy, the humor that is there. It's often born from the irony of the situation, or it's this very tender, subdued observation. It surprised critics who just expected belly laughs. It really shows his versatility, tackling heavy social commentary through, well, a historical adventure tale.
And the story itself has really lived on, hasn't it? From his wife Livy staging a play version at their home to those early Edison films. Didn't one of those films have the only known footage of Twain himself?
That's right, just shambling in front of his house on celluloid. Amazing. And then you've got the classic 1937 movie with Errol Flynn and the Mach twins, the 78 version with Charlton Heston, even a Disney cartoon with Mickey Mouse. Ken Burns' documentary on Twain also uses footage from that very first film adaptation. It's just a testament to its enduring message, I think.
So, wrapping this up, what really stands out to you from this deep dive? Maybe the stark contrast between justice and injustice, or just the incredible resilience of the human spirit?
For me, The Prince and the Pauper really drives home how deeply experience can shape perspective and values. It's a powerful reminder that empathy, true empathy, often isn't learned in palaces or from books alone. It's forged in suffering. And it raises this compelling idea that real knowledge of a society, true understanding, isn't just gained from status or study, but by, well, literally walking in the shoes of its most vulnerable members.
So, what does this all mean for us today, then? If true wisdom really comes from walking in another's shoes, maybe what seemingly trivial or even difficult experiences in your own life might actually hold the most profound lessons, just waiting to be unearthed.